So here we are with more about visualizing. We've already learned that visualizing is a reading strategy, and it's a way to help you understand what you read by making a picture in your mind as you read the details given by the author. So, just as a review, if you read this description in your book, the crystal blue ocean shone in the distance. Two lounge chairs sat waiting for happy tourists to spend the day under the umbrella of dried palm branches. The legs of the lounge chair sat buried in the clean, warm sand. It was a perfect day at the beach. This might be the image that you picture in your mind. It might not look exactly like that, but it would be something that matched the description given by the author. So we know that we have to use what we already know or our prior knowledge to visualize, because visualizing is making a picture in your mind based on the words in the text. However, authors don't always explain every single detail. Sometimes you need to fill in the blanks with your background knowledge. Let's take a look at what we're talking about here. So let's read this section. A group of ponies huddled in the surf, flicking away the biting insects with the swishing of their tails. The water swept in and out over their hooves. What kind of things would you have to fill in with your own background knowledge? What doesn't the author tell us, but we still picture it in our head because of what we already know? So as I'm looking at this, I know that surf and water swept in and out over their hooves, that means that the horses are at the beach. So I'm picturing ponies standing right inside the water on the beach. And they're huddled all together, and their tails are swishing back and forth because there are insects all around them. But what else is at the beach that's not mentioned here? Well, of course, sand. So did you picture sand? Even though the author didn't say they were standing in the sand, we know that there's sand at the beach. So we picture it, even though it's not specifically mentioned by the author. So we fill in the blanks with what we already know about the beach. Also, you need to pay attention to the clues that the author gives you. Sometimes what we read will not match our prior knowledge. So look at this section of text. The fences and fields of Shelburne Farms stretch down the gentle slope toward the barn. Well, that's easy enough. I've been on a farm before. I've seen fences, I've seen fields. I know what barns look like. Immediately, I see this in my mind. This picture of a barn. But if I keep reading, the fences and fields of Shelburne Farm stretch down the gentle slope toward the barn. But this was not a regular barn. Instead, it looked more like a palace. One round turret towered over the side wall. Well, that completely changes what I picture in my mind, because it's not that normal red barn that I was thinking of. It looks more like a palace. So here's the clue. This was not a regular barn. Instead, it looked more like a palace. One round turret towered over the side wall. That's the clue the author gives you, and it completely changes that picture that you formed in your mind. This is more what the author is talking about. This barn doesn't look anything like that red barn that we first pictured. If I kept on thinking about a regular red barn, I would miss out on an important detail of the story. So what have we learned about visualizing today? We already knew that visualizing is an important reading strategy. And we know that we have to use the clues the author gives and our own knowledge to build a picture in our mind. But today, we learned that sometimes the author doesn't tell us everything, and we have to fill in the blanks with what we already know. And finally, we need to pay attention to all of the details that the author gives. It will help you get the picture right, like that barn that we automatically pictured as a red barn, but looked more like a palace.